Now let's dive deep into the big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Von Biggs, and let's queer up health. Is the LGBTQ community closer than ever to end the AIDS pandemic? Tonight we bring you a story that is not just news, it's a moment of history in the making. A powerful new article in Forbes, penned by Peter Sands, Executive Director of the Global Fund, issues a bold call to action. The headline reads, "The first generation without AIDS is within reach if we refuse to settle." In it, Sands writes, quote, "This isn't about managing the AIDS pandemic. It's about ending it and letting a new generation grow and thrive free of its threat," end quote. More than 40 million lives have been lost to AIDS so far, and 39 million people are still living with HIV. But with the arrival of groundbreaking tools like long-acting PrEP, including lenacapavir, a twice-yearly injectable, we now have the scientific means to cut new infections dramatically. Sands points to prevention as the Achilles heel in our global AIDS response. He says, quote, "No epidemic has ever been ended without stopping transmission," end quote. On July 9th, the Global Fund struck a historic deal with Gilead, makers of lenacapavir, to expand affordable access across low and middle income countries. The goal? Reach 2 million people in the next 3 years, especially young women and marginalized communities. But science alone isn't enough. Sands warns that without action on stigma, discrimination, and criminalization, people will not realize the full potential of lenacapavir. As America's LGBTQ community knows too well, real progress depends on dismantling structural barriers and letting communities lead. He reminds us that, quote, "Epidemics don't end when we stop paying attention. They end when we confront hard realities, back what works, and refuse to settle for anything less than success," end quote. Advocates ask what we should do next. Their answer is that we rise and advocate, then we support our local HIV organizations. They suggest we must demand access to the tools that can save lives. The LGBT community is closer than ever to ending the AIDS pandemic. You know, since they came out with lenacapavir, and obviously in the U.S. it's called Gas to Go, which is now hitting the market, and it's already being used in clinics, even here in Wilton Manor. It's going to take, and we've talked about it, it's going to take prevention and treatment. It takes viral suppression and prevention. And the fact that it can be 6 months is a game changer for us, for being able to transmit HIV. And like they said, we're in that reach. And there's a lot of studies coming about the cure, even more of the cure for HIV. And all that combined is, I'm hopeful that I will see that cure by the end of my lifetime.
I love that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, we're always doing stories here about HIV research being cut,
Right.
you know, substantially, right? Like, how does this affect your story? I mean, and at the end of the day, you know, you're giving us hope in real time, but if access isn't there, then what's the point? You know?
Well, and with them making the deal with Gilead to reach those communities, I mean, that's a great deal. And people, you know, commented, I know you and I have talked about this, Alex, about, you know, how drug companies charge a fortune when they come out with a new drug. And it's actually, I was on a call today, actually, and they were talking about that from a national level, going, it coincides just along with the other injectables just fine, and taking a daily pill. So when you look at the cost of 6 months of pills or shots, you know, 3 or 4 shots every 6 months versus just one, the costs are the same. So at the end of the day, I mean, insurance companies are buying in on it, and it's a great way to keep that transmission. And because the costs involved that would be if it is transmitted is far higher than that of prevention.
So, Alex, do we say yay, Gilead, on this one?
Oh, you'll never get me to say
Damn it!
oh, yeah, we're going to lower prices in middle income and low income countries. So just as successful as they've been with curing tuberculosis over 100 years ago, which is still the top killer in this world. So, like, I always remind people, you know, I'm rooting for the medical community. I just also poke at them to do better, you know, and,
Of course.
you know, because the cost issue, you have two things going on there. Because, yes, all the different ways of treating HIV right now is just crazy expensive. That weighs on an entire insurance industry in different ways. You know, we were talking about, like, how do these people end up voting for Trump? When they read something about whatever these pills and injections cost here and other countries pay less, that enrages people, even though I try to remind people, like, you know, it's not they can't afford quite the same amount that we can afford, but at the same time, we can't afford some of the prices we're seeing now. My biggest fear is we will get a cure for HIV, but what really scares me is what if it's like the hepatitis C cure, that only the elite few can really get access due to cost. That's what scares me the most on this issue. But I'm hoping we get it. I hope it's like smallpox where it's cheap, everyone can get it, and in no
perfect
time,
world,
yeah,
right,
and then I can eat chocolate and lose weight.
And say, yay, Gilead.
Yeah.
But no, you have to. But you, as your voice, have to keep coming at
Of
that.
course.
You just like I advocate, you advocate, and all of us together make a point at the end of the day.
Of course, somebody needs to keep people accountable.
Right.
You know, Jason, what do
I
you
think
think,
it's also an
David?
education campaign. So it's an education campaign. Like folks would not know that. I mean, now we could use the story because you shared it to kind of force it out and put it out there. But a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't keep up with the extreme positive stories. We're so focused on the negative that when we hear a positive story like that, this is what we really need to share. And I think Gilead needs to do an education campaign about what they're doing and ways to really truly listen to the community so that the prices aren't skyrocketing and serve the community that they're trying to really help.
I'm super curious as to what Jamal thinks because, I mean, you are a huge HIV/AIDS advocate.
And a HIV thriver.
Well, I wasn't going to put your business out there, but he always...
My business is always out there. I mean, everybody knows. So, to Jason's point, I was thinking about prevention, and prevention is key with the education because of stigma. And the further we get away from stigma, the further we can start normalizing conversation around HIV and infection, and also normalizing conversation about medicines and things and preventions. Then people will then start to move further into a progressive mindset and critically think about, what's going on in the HIV sphere. That is key. And like I've said before, even with all of the funding cuts, even with all of the things that we're going through with the federal government, community is key. And that is the way that is what's going to save us, community. And the more community progresses, because that's where everything starts. It starts at the grassroots, it builds up, and then it becomes this movement, it becomes this thing. The more community is educated, activated, and advocated, then we can get through this and we can end this epidemic or this pandemic.
I think Miami has been #1 with new cases for years and years and years, and it usually is Black women who are the most cases, Education is key. I'm speaking of women out there that don't think that they need to take pepper prep or that they can take such a thing, Women need to get more educated, and women are in heterosexual relationships and they don't understand that their man is on the down low, and it's nothing that they did wrong, but they should protect themselves and know the options as well.
It's a good point you bring up because few people realize, there are far less HIV deaths now than there used to be. When you look at all the HIV deaths in America, about half of them have been Black.
Yeah.
People don't always understand that. How it affects so many communities.
And what there's a thing that I learned at the last conference we did with Viv was HIV possible. When you get people in the mindset of understanding that everyone is HIV possible, that is what shifts the narrative.
Wow.
But when people don't understand that or can't look like it never happened to me, I'm not gay. I'm not a gay man.
Exactly.
I'm not a trans.
Exactly.
Then that idea perpetuates the stigma again without the education. But when you look at it through a different lens, then we can shift the narrative, shift the conversation, and really make better decisions.
And you talk about Miami with the Black women in Broward County. I was just at a call with the health department last week, and they have now prioritized it. They are now focused on heterosexual Black men is their priority population here in Broward County. So,
Well, that is the big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.